Okay, in this video, we're going to go over how to add income as the first step in getting started with your forecasting spreadsheet. If you watched the overview video, you saw that you could add your age and you put in what are your working years with a W, your retirement years with an R. One of the things I wanted to point out that's very important is you can choose any starting year. So 2018 is almost over. You can put in a 2019 there, and you'll just want to correspond your current age that you'll be that year. So when you come down to the bottom of your spreadsheet, income is already added. I typed this in earlier, but you type in the name of your employer. So I'm going to put in employer one. And if you have more than one employer, you hit add income up here, and then you would type employer two or whatever the name of that employer is. And gross pay and take home pay is used in various calculations throughout the spreadsheet. So up here is cumulative gross pay and cumulative take home pay. And what it's doing is it's calculating all of the gross pays. So if you add 3 or 4 incomes, it's going to add all those gross pays together and all those take home pays together so that you have a total gross pay and total take home pay, no matter how many employers you enter. For this demonstration, I'm just going to have one. So I'm going to type delete here and hit delete, and that will remove that. To enter into employer one, the income, I have this paycheck breakdown. And what this does is as you enter dollar amounts from your paycheck, it will multiply it by the number of paychecks you have a year. So if you get paid every 2 weeks, you put in 26. If you get paid twice a month, you put in 24. So let's go ahead and fill this in so that we can get started with adding income. So looking at a paycheck, put in your gross pay. So you may or may not be familiar with the health savings account. You can type whatever items are on your paycheck into here. Obviously, no two paychecks are going to be the same. I don't want to get into too much detail on a specific what is on a specific paycheck, but you have pre-tax items. So other pre-tax deductions, health insurance, dental, and then we're going to go into taxes. So if you're not familiar how to write a formula in Excel and you have like 4 or 5 items for taxes, federal, local, state, unemployment, if you just type a minus, put in each amount separated by a minus, and what you'll see is it will add it up for you. So get all those amounts in there, and let's put in some post-tax items, which would be expense reimbursements, life insurance, vision coverage, some of those items. But the whole point of this is to get to annual amounts that you can use. You also could use your W-2, but depending on when you're starting this forecast, you might not have a current W-2 handy and you might have changed jobs. So I'm saying for this, just use your most recent paycheck to get started. So let's put some of these items in here. The gross pay was 78,000. So what you can do is click on that. If you remember from the overview video, you can hit copy right. It copies it to the right. So what I'm going to do, if I decide to change a dollar amount that I think I'll be earning down the road, I really want this to be a percentage. So you can do it either way. You can do a flat dollar amount or you can do a percent of gross. So I'm going to show you both ways. So if I did minus 2418 and hit enter, it's going to put that flat dollar amount the whole way across. Or if I take that out and I put a minus 3.1%, you can see it's calculating that the whole way across. Now, one thing I want to point out is it's always good to copy this to the right. Even though it will carry it through, it's not actually calculating off the individual year income. So if you think your income is going to go up $2,000, you could go and type that in, and this amount didn't change. It didn't take this times 3.1%. What it does is it looks to see if there's anything here. If there's nothing here, it just brings in the previous cell's value. So what I'm going to do is click on this cell, hit copy right, and now it's going to multiply this 80 times that 3.1% and give me the new calculation. When I type this 80 in here, it didn't change these to the right. You have to click copy right and it changes those. So let's get, I want to get this in here. So that was the pre-tax deductions. And let's get this health savings account in here. To savings. So these gray cells here, you can change them. And the drop down, what makes up those is if you go to the top here, it's whatever you have entered in here. So the spreadsheet comes with default descriptions. Those descriptions are defined in the notes tab, but you can change them. If they don't suit your needs, you can change them to whatever you need. So uh, let's get the rest of these here. So standard 401k was the other description. Copy that, put that in there. And if I look at that, the 401k was 4.3%, the health savings was 4.9. So I'm just going to put those percentages in here. The reason, even though it's saving money, the reason I'm putting it as a minus is because I'm deducting it from my gross pay. So we'll go into how this all works together at the top, but I'm trying to get a gross pay and a take-home pay. So I got all of my pre-tax items. Now I got to get these taxes in here. So if you notice, I'm out of room here. What you do is click on this yellow cell over here, hit add, and hit this add button at the top. And you can do that as many times as you need and add whatever you need to into here. So let's get these taxes, and it's 18.3%. When you paste that in there, it automatically wrap text and makes it a bigger row. If you wanted that small again, you can just click and drag it down. If you want it big again, you can just go in between the cells there, double click, make it big. Do that minus 18.3. And we need to copy that to the right. And we need one more for these post-tax deductions. So I'm going to copy this and hit add. And you could call this, there's probably multiple things you could call this. A lot of this is insurance related, so I think I'm going to label it insurance expense. So if you click on this drop down, there's insurance expense, and it's not 18.3, it's 0.6. You can actually copy that exact percentage, come in here and paste special. So if you hit the drop down here, got this paste special values, and then you got to remember to copy it to the right. All right, so if I did everything correctly, started out with 78, subtracted all these various amounts, and I didn't have the exact percentage here on this one, so it's thrown off my number a bit. So I'm going to get paste special the exact percentage. There we go. And it needs to be a negative. So it's very important that you are validating the numbers that you're coming up with. And that's why I have you comparing to a paycheck. Because if you would go and put these amounts in positive, these percentages in positive, or send them the wrong way, your gross pay and your take-home pay might not actually be accurate. And at that point, you might be making wrong assumptions about how much money you're saving for the future, which is like these 401ks, and how much money you actually have to spend. So the reason I have this doing this step of this paycheck breakdown is to make sure that you're getting all the elements correct. So let's just go through and check this. I had 78,000, and I want to get these exact percentages in here. So see that I put in as a positive and it threw my number. So I'm just gonna fix that here. Okay, and 53,643. I'm at 54,621. So I am missing something. 488. Oh, this is a positive. So that's the point of putting your paycheck in there, because you want to make sure that you are coming up with the right number. So there we go, 53,643, and now that matches. And now I'm confident that I have accurately reflected this employer, what our current income is. I'm projecting it out over the future. And as long as I am uh, keeping these things consistent, so if this is a negative here, you want to keep those going negative, these percentages. You can make changes. So here you can see I increased the amount, and everything else should be calculating down through the same way. If at that same time you had a pay increase, you wanted to increase what you're putting to your 401k, you would type that in. So I put a -5, and I can copy that to the right. So now I'm saving more money into my 401k. So what I want to point out is, as you slide out to the right, you can see when you hit retirement years, and obviously you're not going to keep earning the same amount at that point in time. So I'm going to put a 0 into these fields and copy this into the income here, and I'm going to copy that to the right. And that basically zeroes out everything, because all these percentages were calculating off that dollar amount. If you had flat dollar amounts in here that were not calculating off of the percentage, you would have to go and put a 0 in these cells and copy them to the right to completely zero this stuff out. You just put a 0, hit copyright, and it doesn't take long, and you would do it that way. So now you have everything zeroed out for your retirement years for that employer, um, so that you have an accurate number here. So what's going on in this column is it's adding up all your gross pay over those years. And if you think you're going to get a pay increase or a percent increase each year, cost of living, you could come in here and you could actually write a formula. So if I am clicking on this 80,000, let's say, I think at this point I'm going to start getting a 1.5% pay increase each year. I hit an equal sign, click on the previous cell, do times 1.015 if you think it's a 1.5% increase, and you can see what that meant in terms of a pay increase, and you could copy that, hit copyright, and that formula is carrying out to the right. Now you have to be careful when you hit copyright, it goes the whole way to the end. So um, because I had zeroed out these percentages, it's no longer taking out any taxes, and you can see it's continuing this income. So again, you make a change and you hit that copyright. You have to be careful because it carries it the whole way. The other thing is I put that 1.5% increase. You can see the income goes up pretty quickly. If you know that it's going to cap out at a certain point, then you would want to change that formula at, at that point in time of where you think it capped out. And you can just click and drag that formula to the right as well. You don't have to hit this copyright button. And that way it stopped where I wanted it to stop. So a couple ways that you can work with the spreadsheet and account for what you think is going to happen with your income as years go on. And if you plan on increasing what you're putting to your 401k, you can do the same thing, at the very specific points in time, make those changes. What I'll say is some of these things, this exercise of putting this forecasting spreadsheet together will help you make some of these decisions. You'll see that maybe you're not saving enough money, and you'll see at what point in time you have large expenses coming, and you'll be able to more accurately determine when you should start saving more money. And the spreadsheet should help you make some of those determinations. So Before we spend too much time trying to figure all that out, let's get into some of the other elements of the spreadsheet and start working on some of the loans you might have and investments that you have. So that's how you add an employer and your paycheck. Again, if you have a second employer, you just add them. You can put them below, and up top it's going to accumulate your gross pay and your take-home pay. All right, that's it for this video. Thank you.